pretty stranger in the black sedan. I want you hop inside my car. I got pictures plenty of a lovable man, and I can take you to the nearest star. I'm your vehicle, baby. I'll take you anywhere you wanna go. I'm your vehicle, woman. And by now I'm sure you know that I love you. I need you. I want you, got to have your child. Great God in heaven, you know I love. Hey, you know I can.
Yes. We are here, Coach Heck, Coach King, from the beautiful Bar Louie, located off of Cleveland Road and Main Street, Gumwood, whatever you want to call it, with another edition of Coach's Corner. We have a lot to talk about today, folks. A lot of sports, a lot of things going on. But mostly I want to say I'm a West Side guy, man. I'm a West Side guy, and word got out that Coach King didn't like me pulling my pant leg up on the left side because I'm a West Side guy. And the dumb Pollock jokes that Heck was telling, and you're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck with me. I ain't going anywhere.
There's a lot of people that are jealous of me for sitting here, and there's some people that there's a little sympathy going on at the same time.
There's more people that are sympathetic to you. I'm just saying that much right now. But anyway, we had some games this weekend that we worked. Pat and I got a chance to work together on the Mishawaka Northwood game. I did the play-by-play. Pat did the color from Mishawaka.
We saw a pretty good ball team, didn't we?
Oh, Northwood is really good.
They're the real deal. They're number 1 in 3A, and they are the real deal for you people in 3A basketball.
So they moved up to the power rankings in the Great South Bend Tribune. They moved up ahead of Marion, and they just put it on Mishawaka, 68 maybe to 28.
It was
something
got
like
ugly
that.
early, didn't it?
Yeah, but what came out of that was that, man, can Pat and I bring a game home, man? We can.
Oh, dear.
We can bring a game home, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the score. And we never got into pitchers and catchers.
No, we didn't.
Baseball
was never a topic.
And we didn't need any filler.
And, we didn't. It got to, what, 25? Well, they had a running clock the last 2 minutes, and no baseball was mentioned.
No baseball.
We still stuck with basketball.
No filler. We were good. So what came out of that night is that anytime me and Pat want to work games, I can do play-by-play, and Pat's great at color, and we can do that. But that was a lot of fun. Then I know Pat and John went up to and did the girls' regionals.
We had separate regionals, and you were doing college games Saturday.
I went to Taylor University and did Bethel and Taylor, and we'll talk about that a little later.
Now, the colleges are down to like 1 week, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're down to their last week of regular season.
It's the last week of regular season, and now they're getting into conference tournaments. Now the Big Ten and the ACCs and those, they still have some games to play. But the NAIA and things, they're getting into their conference tournaments maybe in a week, and so now it's all about seeding.
Yes,
it's all about seeding. It's all about
trying to get in.
You don't want to be the 8th seed because you're going against the number 1 seed. Ideally, if you're not in the first 3 seeds, you want to be the 4th seed.
Right.
You want to be right in the middle. And speaking of Bethel is right in the middle. They're 17-10. They're 9-8 in the Crossroads leagues. They're in 4th place. And Steve Draben, Steve Draben from LaPorte High School,
right.
Great player. Went on to coach at Belmont. His team plays really, really hard, plays really well. Pound for pound, they might have the best player in the Crossroads League in Drew Lutz.
Yes.
And we know Drew Lutz
from his
days at Penn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a tough, hard, averaging 22, rebounds the ball.
But he's a good example of what that conference does a lot. They'll go find kids that are Division I, that have played Division I, 2 or 3 years, and he was down at Incarnate Word for 3 years, I believe,
with Carson Cunningham.
Yes, and decided to come back to town and finish up here, and they put those kids to work, and Indiana Wesleyan is famous for that.
Well,
and Tonagel does such a great job of recruiting to start with.
Well, before the NCAA instituted this new rule where you could transfer anywhere, Division I transfers could transfer down to NAIA and play immediately.
Play immediately.
Whereas before, if they transferred to another D1 or if they transferred to another D2, they had to sit out.
Right.
That's not the case anymore because it's the wild, wild west has opened up.
Yes.
NIL money, everything has opened up. Now they can play anywhere. And so did it hurt NAIA? Probably a little bit because those kids don't have to sit out.
Right.
But those kids are still or those schools are still getting transfers that A, want to come back home, or B they're sitting on the bench. Maybe they know they're not good enough at the D1 level, but they are good enough to play in the Crossroads
League. They want to play,
League.
yes.
And without question, the Crossroads League, in my estimation, I mean, you've seen the Crossroads Leagues. You've seen the CCAC
yes.
with Holy Cross.
Those two conferences have, Crossroads usually has 3 and sometimes 4 in the national tournament, as does the Chicagoland Conference. They have at least 2 and sometimes 3, and maybe a 4th, depending on how strong they are that particular year.
So it's really good basketball. I really enjoy calling those games. Now tomorrow night I have Adams at Mishawaka, and then Wednesday night I have a doubleheader over at IUSB.
And IUSB's stepped it up here the last 5 years.
Well, they brought those 4 kids in from Indianapolis. They brought Micah Poole, they brought Danielle Meredith, they brought Kenny Washington from Beech Grove, and they brought Miles Tracy from Cardinal Ritter. And the other 2, Danielle Meredith is from Lawrence Central, and Micah Poole's from Crispus Attucks.
Right.
Now you bring those 4 Indianapolis kids in to play in that league.
Right.
The cohesiveness, the athleticism, I mean, those are 4 really good players. Now you mix Dejan Barney in with them, the 6'9" kid that came out of nowhere. No, and Riley, he was 5'11" as a freshman, like 5'11".
See, and I don't even know who he is. And you said he went to Riley, so he was never on my scouting report.
Well, no, and we never. I mean, I played Riley for 5 years.
He wasn't a name.
No, but he's 6'9" now, and he's a man in that league.
And IUSB plays in the Chicagoland Conference, so you're playing Roosevelt and Cardinal Stritch out of Milwaukee and St. X, all the Chicago teams.
IU Northwest.
IU Northwest is there.
So I might as well get into this now, and now wait. This will take about 2 minutes, but so I get this game over at Taylor, right?
Right.
1976, Manchester College is playing the NAIA semifinal at Taylor. Okay, so we beat Bethel in the opening round. We beat Tri-State, Mark Peterman's Tri-State team with Bruce Dayhuff, just a great team. So, and we beat them in the second round. Now we're in the semifinal game against Taylor. And okay, you win that Taylor game, then it's one more win to go to Kansas City.
Yes.
And, I mean, you played at Butler, so the NAIA tournament wasn't a thing that you were involved with, but anybody getting a chance to go to Kansas City.
That's what you wanted.
That was a big deal.
That was it, yes.
I mean, that was a big deal.
Yes.
So,
couldn't 32 teams go there, I believe.
It's the semifinal game, and we're playing, and so this is the opening paragraph of the Wabash Plain Dealer. Going into the last 15 seconds of the game, blah, 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 of Manchester College was the overwhelming pick for player of the game with 37 points and 12 rebounds, and it wasn't me.
Oh.
But in the game's last 5 seconds, Ron Heklinski stole the show by going high above the rim to get a rebound, score the rebound at the buzzer.
Wait a minute, stop.
Now, I know where you're going. I know where you're going because I'm going there
I'm getting
too.
ready to do a Woody Harrelson story. Go ahead.
I'm going there too. But so Ron Heklinski.
Spike Lee's about ready to say something.
So Ron Heklinski goes over the rim, grabs the rebound, scores at the buzzer. Manchester upsets Taylor. Manchester going to Franklin to play in the NAIA championship game. So first of all, my vertical was 3 inches. So I don't know what the guy at the Wabash Plain Dealer was doing.
The Wabash phone book was in danger when you were jumping.
I'm just saying, and I know this. But I did go up, grab the rebound, score at the buzzer, and we win. So I'm at the game. Do you remember Stan Doherty?
Yes.
Stan Doherty, longtime coach at Delta High School.
I know him from Alexandria.
Yes. So Stan was on that team.
Okay.
So I see Stan. Stan's an assistant coach at Taylor. And Stan, and I'm saying, Stan, you remember that basket right there? And I'm pointing at it. Hey, Stan, I ended your college career, right? Yeah, heck, you did. And heck, by the way, in the crowd across are 3 other players that played on that team. One of them was a guy named Sparky Reneker, who was really, really good, and 2 other guys. And he said, you need to go up there and tell them who you are, because you really ended their career, and they were much better than me. So I go up there and I say, hey guys, and they don't really recognize me. I say, hey, I'm Ron Heklinski, played at Manchester. In unison, they all 3 put their heads down and just start shaking their heads, because I in essence, I ended their career.
Right.
And then Sparky Reneker, goes, hey, heck, he said, it was a great play, but I just want you to know something. And I said, what? He said, you fouled the crap out of me to get position, to get that rebound. He said, it's the only reason you got that rebound.
Gave him a little shove.
But how about that? Just going to do a game and being able to relive what happened in 1976.
I say that's 45, almost 50 years.
And then to see some of those players.
And to see your memories that good.
Well, so I love my wife to death, and my wife is amazing. But my wife will tell me, your memory is great, Ron. You know what happened on the 69 Cubs. You know what happened on this, but you don't even know what my favorite color is. You don't even, half the time you miss my birthday, half the time, so.
Selective memory.
So we all deal with that,
Oh,
right?
yes, we sure do. And it's funny you mentioned some of those names at Tri-State, because I was being recruited at Tri-State to play basketball, and Day Huff was there, and he's a John Glenn name, right?
He's a John Glenn name, passed away about a year and a half ago.
Okay. And
great player.
And I had a guy named Dave Ballinger from Anderson, had played at Tri-State, and he was really heavy in wanting me to get up there. Myself and Dan Skaggs, who I played with, they had both of us up there. Well, Dan ended up going to Wabash to play basketball, and I ended up going to Butler to play football. So now I ended up walking on the basketball team.
Well, at Tri-State, Mark Peterman was the head coach. And Mark Peterman was a legend in NAIA basketball.
And he evidently had a heavy Anderson connection, because they were down there all the time.
Had a great team. There was a player named Gordon Wall. I don't know where Gordon Wall was from, but Gordon Wall was a man. He was like 6'6". I remember playing against him. And the scouting report was just all this, man. Gordon Wall's all this, all that in a bag of chips. And I remember this like it was yesterday. Like the first 3 minutes, Gordon Wall ain't really doing much, right? And I was kind of mouthy, before mouthy was in vogue.
I can't imagine that.
I was mouthy before mouthy was in vogue.
Is that the West Side part of it?
That is the West Side part of it.
Okay.
But I remember saying to Gordon Wall, you ain't that good, man. What's everybody talking all this stuff about you for? You ain't that good.
Oh, Lord.
And so we go on to beat Tri-State. We had no business beating Tri-State, but we just outplayed them. We guarded them. Bill Zick, who was a sophomore and now the head coach at Pike,
right?
Played at LaPorte. Bill Zick is like 11-11 from the free throw line. But anyway, I had to get that Taylor story out because that'd be like you going somewhere and you hitting the winning bucket at Butler and 3 guys being in the crowd who played in the game.
Right. Well, that would never happen. The only story I've got on that even resembles that's when I played at Butler. We were playing Indiana State, and it's another long story. But anyways, Theophanis comes down and says, who can guard this guy? Who can guard this guy? So I guarded him in high school. I can guard him. So he didn't even know my name. He just calls me Anderson. Hinkle's behind the bench. He's still hanging around. So I go, because everybody else was in foul trouble. So I go in there and guard him. Well, one of my teammates from Little League, Harry Morgan, who went to Madison Heights, was playing for Indiana State.
I remember that.
I come out on the floor. Harry looks, goes, he starts laughing. They're at the free throw line. He starts laughing. He goes, you guarding me? And I said, no, I got the big, tall blonde. I said, I got the big, tall blonde.
So who was it? Because you said you guarded him in high school.
Well, myself and my roommate, Don McLaughlin, we held him to 48 that afternoon.
We held him to 48.
He ended up playing some pro ball. What was his name? Played for the Celtics.
Larry.
Yeah. So I had to guard Bird for like 4 minutes.
You held him. We held him to 48.
We held Bird to 48 that afternoon.
Hey, so we've told a couple of great stories here. Hey, John, give our listeners the idea of how to get a hold of us tonight. We're not going to have a guest because we have so much stuff to go over, but what we would like to do is maybe take some live questions or things like that. Maybe see if anybody wants to get a hold of us tonight, John. Can you give them the info?
I sure can. What you can do is you can just type it in the box and go to Coach's Corner at broadcastsport.net. You can find the box and just type it in. It'll come to me here. Or, of course, you can just email to me at john@broadcastsport.net. And, guys, you want to promote your new Instagram account, too. We have an Instagram account that's now set up for Coach's Corner.
My son, the pilot, who also just finished his MBA, God bless him, that also injured our bank account in addition to two weddings we've had here. But he has helped, and we've got an Instagram account now, and you can look on my Instagram, and it's a link, and it's India. It's IND for Indiana. So it's IND Coach's Corner. You click on that, and then he's got all kinds of things, Linktree things. And see, I don't know all that stuff. It says Linktree, so I'm repeating what he's told me.
It's got 2 great pictures of you guys, too.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Older pictures.
We're coaching, yeah. We both had, our hair was a little darker back then.
A little longer.
Yeah. The mullet looked better back then, right?
Back then the mullet was flowing.
Yes, it was.
The mullet was flowing, and as I said, you ain't that good, man. What's all the fuss about you?
That's funny. But I think it's called, what did it say? It's called 2 Slaps and a Mic.
Yep.
So click on that. But what he's done, he's archived our things to Spotify and
Apple Music.
Apple Music. So now you can pick us up in the car. You can pick us up at the office. You just click on it. It's the audio only. But I know he said we've already got 50 to 75 people that have already tuned in and watched or listened to last week and the week before. I think he has 2 episodes so far, and he'll get tonight's on probably by morning.
He'll have it shortly after the show tonight.
Okay.
I've got an email ready to go to him.
So we're giving you different options. For some reason, we need more options to people that want to listen to us on their own leisure time. So we're still working on it. So if it doesn't work, send us a note.
Yep.
And just be patient with that.
And listen, don't worry if we get a little cocky on this show. Just kind of blow it off, because back in the day, people thought people talked today, right?
Yeah.
They think people. What we did was never vulgar.
No.
But if I blocked your shot and we're running down, I'm saying, get that out of here, man.
Oh, yeah.
Get that out of here.
Yeah.
If you block my shot, you say, what? What? You call that a shot? What? But anyway,
and the people don't understand. 50 years ago, I was the enforcer on our team. Believe it or not, as nice of a guy as I am, I was the enforcer because I was playing with 2 Indiana All-Stars.
No, exactly.
And I had to keep
Roy Taylor and Tony Marshall.
Yeah, I had to keep them out of foul trouble. So
exactly.
if anybody started roughing them up, it was my job to kind of walk up and walk next to them and say, "Hey, cut it out." And then I was the one that
was a nice way of saying it, right?
Yeah, or I just give them that look. And the other thing you do is you just put that hard foul on them down at the other end. And I was good. I had a good hip. I could put a hip on people.
Well,
I did the Bill Walton. I'd put my hands up here and then just step across them and nail them with that hip, and they'd go flying.
It amazes me. And we're going to get to the Super Bowl in 30 seconds, but it amazes me how many people get to the rim nowadays and they never pay the price.
No.
The lane opens up like the Red Sea parting, and nobody ever makes them pay the price for taking the ball to the rim.
Well, and a good example is when I took my South Bend team down to the Wigwam when you had DeJavon Sawyer Davis. He would just go post to post on a cross screen, and I literally told our guys, when your man goes away to screen, just turn him, face him, and just pass block his butt. I didn't use that exact words.
No, I
said
know.
We literally just pass blocked him. We would not let him get to the post.
Yeah, but people think physical basketball now. They
call them flagrant ones all the time.
Well, or there's an aversion to it. So we, Pat and I are watching the Clay South Bend Career Academy on Tuesday night. The great Leon Johnson has his orange outfits and his players looking good.
Oh boy!
And they're playing. They play Clay to a 95-90 game.
It was.
There's nobody playing any D, and I mean, it's late in the game, a few seconds left. Well, the refs know that they're going to foul intentionally. Right. I'm going to foul you, which means I'm going to grab you.
Sure.
That's a foul. So I'm going to grab you. They call it intentional foul.
Call it an intentional foul.
Well, I mean, the game of basketball dictates. There has to be some knowledge of the game. I could grab you here. I could grab you here. I'm not flinging you down. I'm just grabbing you. That's not an intentional foul.
Now, should I go ahead and mention that you almost were kicked out of the game
from the gym?
We're up in like row 12, and the referee's looking at you, which happened to be one of your buddies. He's giving you the stink eye. And we got the athletic director from Clay sitting there looking at us, and he's laughing. Humnicky's up there next to us. We look like Mo Larry Curly up there. I don't know.
Well, no, and I love John Walczewski. I mean, John Walczewski's a fellow Polish-American. I love him.
But they called it an intentional foul, and the game was over.
I love him.
But we had a good time.
John, what are you, John? And finally, well, first of all, John should never have looked up at us, right?
That's his fault. Yeah.
It's his fault for looking.
But the thing was,
this show is now taking on a life of its own.
He's in a gym. And he hears your voice. I mean, how natural is that?
I know.
It just happened to be in row 12 instead of along the sideline.
It could have been. it could have been Bob Seger with my pipes now.
That's a good point.
My coaching voice now.
That's a good point. John, save us. Give us a question. How's that?
Yes, give us a question.
College basketball question. Your thoughts on New Mexico State calling off the rest of their season with all the allegations that have been kind of floating around with imprisonment and all the sexual things, all that kind of stuff?
So we might as well get into that now. In October, a forward by the name of Mike Peake shot and killed a New Mexico State student. Now, Mike Peake's on the New Mexico State team in what the police called self-defense. It's still an ongoing investigation. So you got that on it now. So on February 6th, a player goes to the police because of a hazing incident by 3 players on the New Mexico State team. They hazed this player, and I can't even fathom why there would be a hazing issue where they would rip his shorts down, smack him on the behind, grab him a little bit. The word fondo comes to my mind, but I don't understand how that is even in play with 18, 19, 20-year-old men.
Right.
I mean, where that comes from.
We didn't grow up in that world.
No. I mean, if we were hazed, we had to go buy donuts for the team on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Or we had to buy Cokes for the team after practice.
Or you had to get up and sing your high school song in front of everybody.
Or we had to collect all the dirty uniforms and take them to the laundry room.
Or you carried the basketballs to and from.
Exactly. I mean, as a high school player, you might have averaged 30 a game, but yet you're carrying the basketball back into the gym because you're a freshman.
You're a freshman or sophomore.
Now, okay, hazing. But what these guys are doing is downright violating a young man.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe that could happen. New Mexico State is 9-15, 2-10 in the WAC. They have a first-year head
brand new coach
named Greg Heyer. And the president of the university said, "That's it, man." Mm-hmm. And rightfully so.
They pulled the plug on him.
Rightfully so, and say, "That's it." Well, I mean, this is shut down now, and you coaches are all under investigation, and I just don't understand the level to which this goes.
They've got all kinds of problems, don't they? And like
you
said,
it's not only them.
They've got the one player that shot somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that you would. No, I'm not even going there. But yeah, I mean that program.
That's locker room problems.
I mean that program has been shut down, and New Mexico State. I mean, you got to remember. I mean, Sweet Lou Henson took that job at New Mexico State when he left Illinois.
Yeah, that's a big time D1 school.
One of my buddies, Russ Bradford, who was a long-time assistant at UTEP, went with Sweet Lou to New Mexico State, and Russ now teaches English at New Mexico State. So I mean, I should have gave Russ a call today and validated all of this, but it blows my mind, and good for the president and bad for New Mexico State, bad for the coaching staff, bad for the people who are in charge of those young men.
And they'll have to clean house, and unfortunately, those coaches are probably going to have to go find another job. And how would you hire them? Think about that.
Well,
and the coaches. The thing is, the coaches. They're responsible for the actions now. Are they responsible for what happened, or are they responsible for the punishment?
Well, I think they're responsible for the culture that was established
That allowed
in
that to
program.
happen.
That allowed that to happen. And to answer your question, yeah, they'll get another job. Look at all these coaches that are recycled.
That's true.
I mean, look at the coaches that are recycled and what they do and what they've done and how they take a year off and they lay low, and then all of a sudden people forget about it.
Time affects memories, doesn't it?
And they look at the records. Oh yeah, he won 20. He won 25 2 years ago. Yeah, so what? That happened. Big deal. Let's hire him. Makes me it makes me ill to think that kind of stuff goes on, and then those guys get hired again. Now, is there such a thing called forgiveness? Yeah. Yeah. But on some of these things, it has nothing to do with setting a ball screen. It has nothing to do with having your feet set when you're coming off a J and getting that inside foot down. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with supervision. And I don't care if you're high school. I don't care. I mean, where you're at. I mean, Carmel High School had that issue 10 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, 10 years ago in the back of a bus.
And
we know Mark Galloway
Right.
is the salt of the earth.
Yes.
Great guy.
Yes.
And what happened when that went down? All the coaches now put a coach at the back of the bus.
Got people all over the
and
bus.
put a coach in the middle of the bus. And I guess really that's probably what we should have done to begin with, right?
I know when I was coaching at a small school south of here, football coaches, they all sat in the back of the bus. They sat in the back 2 rows of the bus and supervised from back there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do it the right way. There's a lot of people that are unfortunate because it happens, and before they know it, it happens on their watch, and then new policy gets set.
Well, and just think about here locally, some of the little things. Coaches, high school coaches go through this all the time. Kids miss class. What do you do with them? All right? Do you set them out a game, part of a game? Do you make life miserable for them at practice? There's all kinds of little behind-the-scenes things that we don't know about, and fans don't know about.
Well, so I think it's all about the culture. I think it's how you set the culture of your team and your expectations. Because at Mishawaka High School, if you miss a class, and it's not even if you come in half a day. If you miss a class, you can't play that night. So whose job is it now to monitor all your players and to see if they're in class? Is that the attendance director? Like to give you a record? Hey, Coach Heck, here's your guys, and here's who came today, here's who didn't come. Is that the attendance director? Is that my job as the coach? Is that your job?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think that's your job. I don't think that's my job.
When's your job start? Does it start at 7:30 when the kids come to school? Or does your job start when school's over and they walk in the gym?
My job always started at 6 when I was shaving because I was worried about what kind of blockout drill we were doing that night.
I'm just
and
saying.
all that, right?
I understand. You and I know the answer.
Yes.
I know the answer.
Yes.
Or how many kids you got sleeping on your couch at home because they didn't have any place to sleep the night before.
And how many kids you feed. Exactly, because as a head basketball coach at a high school level, you don't wear one hat.
Oh, no.
You wear 6 or 7 hats. A father, an advisor, maybe a spiritual advisor, a friend, a coach who's tough and hard.
Off the court
stuff.
Yep.
So it's a different deal. But if you don't have a culture established, I think you got problems.
Well, I totally agree, and that's some of the challenges that first-year coaches have. John, got another question?
Yeah, this one comes from Kyle, clear out in Vermont, out in the Green Mountain State.
Okay, here's my question to Kyle. What are you doing sending us questions? Why ain't you on the slope skiing?
Well,
on.
We'll try to get an answer from him.
All right.
And he's a big Indy Colts fan, so it's kind of surprising that I got an Indy Colts fan in Vermont.
All right.
He wants to know what you guys think about the new coach who's going to be the new coach for the Indianapolis Colts. And obviously Coach, you talked to your son today,
Yeah.
who was in Indianapolis today, and you saw Jim Irsay's jet there on the old runway.
Well, and we also, as Colts fans, are finding out, and will find out tonight, tomorrow, and the next days, evidently, of why the Colts have waited so long to name their coach.
Right, because he's playing in.
He was in the Super Bowl. They weren't going to pull him out of the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl is over. And just a little bit, I learned, my son sends me a text at 10:30 or 11 this morning. He's still at the airport because he's coming in from his job. That his last flight was in New York today, so he ended up his day and had to figure out how to get home from LaGuardia. So he's at the airport and says, hey, the Indianapolis Colts, Irsay's plane, or Irsay's jet's here on the runway next to me, getting ready to take off. Wonder where he's going.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. And I said, track the tail number. And then like 5 minutes later, I get a text, it's blocked. So, you and I were just talking a little bit ago. Professional teams do that. Colleges, I know when he was at Purdue, they would always block the tail number of the Purdue's jet when the coaches went out recruiting, because coaches from other schools are tracking them, saying, okay, where are they going? Who are they going to recruit? Well, obviously they had the tail blocked. Who knows? Were they going to find this, Shane Steicher?
Well, I can tell you where they were going. They were flying to Philly.
They were heading for Philadelphia.
They were flying to Philly to pick up Shane Steichen and bringing Shane, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, back to Indianapolis for the interview, the job offer, and all of the above. But I got some news for Shane. I got some good news and bad news, man. The good news is, yeah, it'd be great to be a head coach in the not for long league. I think it'd be great. The bad news is you ain't got Jalen Hurts in
No, you don't have
Indianapolis,
Jalen
man.
Hurts. At least
I'm just saying.
No, you do not. And
But I tell you what
and
you
don't
do
know,
have.
You don't know who you have.
But no, I'll tell you what you do have. You have a trading partner in the Chicago Bears because the Colts are drafting fourth, and you do have a trade partner to trade up and get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or the quarterback from Kentucky, Will Levis. If you want to draft one of those, real
Right.
good young quarterbacks and develop him, because what the Colts have done the last 3 or 4 years. Matt Ryan, he ain't good enough. Carson Wentz, he ain't good enough. Phillip Rivers was good
He
enough.
was pretty good.
But you thought you had Phillip Rivers for 2 years, and he retired
He
after 1 year.
surprised him. Or do you go find Derek Carr? That's all going to be discussions after when they have the press conference. So we'll see what Chappell and all those guys have to say down there when they interrogate him at his first press conference.
Well, Chris Ballard, the AD for the Colts, already gave it away. He gave it away. He said, we want to go get, a young quarterback. And we want to bring a young quarterback in and make this guy our franchise quarterback. Because if you remember when Frank Reich took the job and Chris Ballard took the GM job, their quarterback was Andrew Luck.
Yes.
And they were thinking that they were going to have a long run with Andrew Luck. And after a year with Andrew Luck going through just so many injuries and things that were breaking down on him, Andrew Luck retires.
Yes.
And so now they have to go out and play quarterback carousel.
And do they have to go find some more linemen to protect him? Because they thought they had a line until this year, and then all of a sudden their line fell apart.
But here's the scenario. If you're the Chicago Bears, this could be a scenario. You're going to trade back with the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans are going to fall in love with one of those two quarterbacks, Stroud or Bryce Young. And they're going to trade with the Bears. The Bears are going to get their number 2 pick. And then the Bears are going to get their 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, maybe next year's number 1 pick of the Texans.
Right.
So now the Bears got the number 2 pick.
They've got some leverage.
Now the Bears are going to trade the 2 pick to the Colts because whichever one the Texans doesn't take, the Colts will want to take.
The Colts want to move up to 2.
And so the Bears are going to get the Colts 4. They're 2, they're 3, maybe they're 1 from the following year.
From the next year.
And then the Colts and then the Bears are going to get to 4th and draft Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle. Now that's the ideal scenario
that
for the
sounds good.
Bears.
And with you being a Bears fan, so you've got it all figured out.
Well, no, that probably won't happen. But what will happen is the Colts will. I mean, the Colts will trade up with the Bears.
Oh, I think so.
And the Bears will get the number 4, and then 100 more picks from the Colts.
Yes.
And I don't blame the Colts for doing that because that's exactly what they need. They need to bring in a franchise young quarterback and develop him, right?
I agree.
I mean, with a new coach.
Yes, I think so. New coach, new quarterback. John, one more question, and maybe we'll go to our sponsors real quick.
Well, before that, Kyle said, he was out on the slopes, came in for dinner, and wanted to get the question in. Going to finish dinner, head back out to the slopes for a little run.
Okay.
So.
Hey,
he's bragging
tell
a
him to
little
send
bit.
us a
Good.
picture.
Okay, I told him, send us a picture. He'll try to send us a picture.
Fantastic.
All right.
One more question. This talks about college football. Harry Heastand, the Notre Dame offensive
Love
line
Harry.
coach, announces that he's going to
Retire.
retire on Super Bowl Sunday because he's got kids playing sports. And how does this impact the Notre Dame offense? Now you've lost your O-line coach as well as your offensive coordinator.
I think they're going to hire Scott Ludwig, the offensive coordinator from Utah. And if you studied anything about Utah's offense was diverse, was really good, all kind of motion, all kind of pre-snap reads, and things that one of these, that Sam Hartman could do in his
Right.
sleep.
Yes.
And so I think they're going to hire him. They haven't said that, but there was a picture with Sam Hartman, Marcus Freeman, and the tight ends coach at the hockey game.
At the hockey game, I saw that.
So what does that tell you a little bit? Harry Heaston, Harry Heaston in football circles, was a pro.
He's the best. He's one of the best.
He was a pro. He developed all those Notre Dame offensive linemen.
And you see him all over the pros right now.
And then left and went to the Bears for maybe 3 or 4 years. And then the Bears change coaches, and he gets fired, and he retires and is out of football for a couple years. Marcus Freeman gets the job and says, "Hey, Harry, man, come on, man, give me a year. I need you to come in and develop these guys. Give me a year." Harry comes in and gives him a year and then retires. I think that's a huge void for Notre Dame. But knowing Notre Dame like we know Notre Dame, they'll go out and get a great coach.
Now, and I guess the thing that we could talk about, they bring in a new offensive coordinator. Will they ask him for any input on who he would like to have as the line coach, or will that be something that's, you just never know what kind of conversations are going to take place?
Well, and those conversations, and that's a great point because the OC may say, "I want to bring this guy.
Hey, I've got somebody that can bring with me."
This is my blocking scheme. He knows my blocking scheme. He knows how to teach my blocking scheme. So this is the guy that I want to bring. Or with all the people that Marcus Freeman worked with. Because all those coaches.
He's going to pull somebody from Ohio State.
They all got a short list. They got a short list in their drawer, and they need this. They pull it out. Everybody thought that Marcus Freeman would hire Leftwich as his OC.
Right.
But I never thought. In watching Tampa Bay play, it was Tom Brady's skill level, right?
Yes.
I never thought it was the offense.
And you hear the stories about some of the arguments that took place because Brady would basically just do his own thing. And what was Leftwich supposed to do? He'd call in a play, and Brady just do a check with me at the line and make his own decisions.
That brings me to a wonderful story, just a wonderful story. And I don't tell a lot of stories, but I'm going to tell this one. The Chicago Bears in the '80s, Mike Ditka, Walter Payton, Jim McMahon, all those guys. Here's the story. The offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears in the '80s made $100,000. Okay, Mike Ditka made $600,000-$700,000. Mike Ditka would be on his headset, and he's talking to the OC, and he's saying, "I want you to run this. I want you to signal this." And the OC saying, "Yeah, I got something better. Let's do this." And then those guys get it figured out. That's about almost $1 million where the coach is figuring out what play they want to call. Okay, they signal to play into Jim McMahon. Okay, Jim McMahon flips him off and says, "I'm calling this, man."
He's got his own play called.
That's there's $800,000, $900,000 worth of guys calling plays.
Right.
And Jim McMahon says, Hey, I got a headband that says Pluto. We're running this play.
I'm gonna give it to Peyton.
We're running this play. So speaking about not for long, the Super Bowl was amazing yesterday, right?
Yes, good game, very good game.
Everybody and their brother, every prognosticator, everybody who talked about the game, us slaps on
included.
this set. Us slaps on this set at Bar Louie's, the best place in America. We picked Philadelphia.
We picked Philadelphia.
I mean, we picked Philadelphia. And I loved it at the end when Travis Kelce was up on the stage and he said, nobody picked us.
Nobody picked us. Give us some respect.
Yeah, give us – and he was right. And he was right. And, I mean, it was a game for the ages. KC 38-35. The two quarterbacks didn't disappoint.
They did not disappoint.
I mean, Hurts is 27 for 28 for 304 yards, and he rushed for TDs. And he rushed for 3 TDs.
Yeah, he set records, and he was a losing quarterback.
He rushed 15 times for 70 yards. Now again, Mahomes got that ankle that's hurt still. I mean, and you saw it when he got rolled up
right
on
before halftime. They were worried whether he was going to even play the second half.
21 for 27, 182 yards, 3 TDs.
And made a big play there in the fourth quarter on that one little scramble right up the middle. That's one of the things. If we would have had Coach Madison on, I was going to ask him, when these guys go cover 0, there's no middle linebacker. And you see how many times we've seen quarterbacks that just basically, it's not a quarterback draw, but it basically becomes a quarterback draw. They run right up the middle, and in cover 0, it's man to man. So you look, the secondary's got their backs turned.
Well, so a lot of people would answer that this way. We didn't spy Pat Mahomes.
You've got to have a spy. Yeah.
Because his ankle's bad.
Because of an ankle. Usually you got a middle linebacker or strong safety, somebody's spying him.
And so he rushed 6 times for 44 yards. And
they were important yards.
And that was probably the difference in the game. Kansas City rushed for 158 yards, and Andy Reid never rushes for 158 yards. They throw the ball all over the yard. And so they're talking to Andy Reid, and they're talking to him about Pat Mahomes, and he says, he says, what? He's the MVP.
Yes.
That's what an MVP does. Mm-hmm. That's what he's supposed to do, and that's what he does.
Players make plays.
And, so we want to talk about Jalen Hurts. He has
improved so much in the last 3 years.
And he's got a fumble, right? Mm-hmm. Fumble that they returned.
He
for
fumbled.
a TD.
They picked it up and ran it in
and scored. But what a game! What a game! So all you heard today: pass interference, pass interference, pass. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But yet the defensive back, James Bradbury, for the Eagles said, "Yeah,
it probably was," and
yeah.
It was defensive holding, I think.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It one way or the other.
Yeah, I did.
But the timing of it was what people are complaining about, I think, because I don't remember, were there any other defensive holding penalties in the entire game? There were very few, if any.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Very few pass interferences. We have some games, there's just interference. They just throw it up in the air and hope and pray for an interference.
You can call it any time.
Sure.
So
it was a clean game, very well officiated. It was just the timing. All of a sudden, everybody's going, okay, here's the fix. Kansas City's supposed to win this thing because all just magically, it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and they had a defensive holding. First down. And then they ended up running the ball and they scored, kicking a field goal.
Okay, so all the people then, all I'm seeing on Twitter, on Facebook, on everything after the game, oh, what a beautiful game, but how boring at the end, blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me? That was coaching at the end.
Yes, it was coaching.
That was coaching. You're not going to score. You slide down.
He slid at the 2, didn't he?
And we're going to give them 8 seconds, to beat us or tie us.
That's right.
That was coaching. That was brilliant because how many times do you see players go out of bounds when they shouldn't go out of bounds? And there was no question. He could have scored on that play, and Philadelphia would have got that ball back with 2 minutes left.
Right, exactly. And some of the behind-the-scenes things, just to finish that up, you're going to hear people complaining about the turf because they don't like the grass. That's the field that's on the railroad tracks that they roll outside to grow, and then they roll it back in. And then the halftime show, did you see all the people out there trying to put things back? Halftime show, the stage or whatever they had for the halftime show, which I did not watch, tore up the field. They had to go out there and fix divots.
Yeah, that's a different story because that's the surface. That's the surface that has to be played on.
That's a grass surface
for the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, I know. You got to take care of things. John, why don't you run through our sponsors real quick, and then we're going to come back and try to finish up with some high school sports. How's that?
And we got one more question we would like to maybe get to as well if we get time.
We can do that.
You are watching Coach's Corner from Bar Louie every Monday night starting at 6:30 on BroadcastSport.net.
Frick's Driving School has been named the best driving school in Michiana. Frick's was started in 1960 and is located on Edison Road in Mishawaka. If your child is 15, you can get them started at Frick's. There are multiple instructions available for your driving lessons. Check out the BroadcastSport.net main page and click on the Frick's icon to get more information. There you can find out more information and instructions to enroll your new driver. Frick's Driving School, a proud sponsor of Coach's Corner on BroadcastSport.net. Southern Knit Studio is a proud sponsor of Coach's Corner on BroadcastSport.net. Southern Knit Studio is located in Nashville, Tennessee, which makes custom handmade chunky knit blankets. They come in 3 sizes and various colors for your living room or den. Stephanie's Esty Shop offers online shipping and ships anywhere in the country. If you need a great gift idea for any holiday, including birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, check out Southern Knit Studio. You can find more by clicking on the link at the www.broadcastsport.net page. Jackson's Cigar Bar is located in the 100 Center in Mishawaka. Jackson's is the only place in our area offering a gourmet cigar and alcoholic drink. Jackson's has a full bar along with a 1,200 square foot patio for your enjoyment. Jackson's is open Wednesday through Sunday 4 to midnight. Jackson's also has plenty of TVs to watch your favorite game while enjoying your cigar and drink. That's Jackson's Cigar Bar located in the 100 Center in Mishawaka, a proud sponsor of Coach's Corner on BroadcastSport.net.
We are back for the last segment of Coach's Corner. A couple things, and then I'm going to turn this over to Pat. We sat with Greg Humnicki, the ex-AD at Clay, and Greg Humnicki told us he thought that the bylaws would make South Bend Riley and Washington finish that game. But guess what? They're not finishing that game.
Well, and he told us, 2 nights later, Friday night, that they were going to have a meeting with all the principals, and they would have to vote to make this an exemption, because John knows and I know from previous experiences, especially baseball, if you have rainouts, you have to drop a non-conference game to make that conference game up. And the same thing would happen with this situation here. They would have to, here in these last 2 weeks, they would have to tell one of their non-conference opponents that we need that date for this game. Can we play here? Because if we can't, then we're not going to play. They might move it to another day, but they may have to use a common date, but they have to play those games. And so evidently, if they're not playing, that means that the principals must have voted that you don't have to play.
February 17th, Michael J. turned 60. Michael J. turned 60. And I would say Michael J. could still play today.
Wow.
Start hitting those regionals, Coach.
All right. Hey, John and I were at the regionals for the girls this last week, and I was at the 4A, and I'll start with 4, and then you can chime in on 3. How's that?
That's fine.
We were over at LaPorte, and we got to see the number 1 ranked South Bend, Washington girls play, and they are a whole different team right now without their best player. And the oldest Reynolds girl had surgery, I believe it was Thursday, so she wasn't even at the game. And so they were playing without their captain even in the building. She was still home with a cast on her foot from surgery that she had from the tendon that she tore, or ligament that she tore in her foot. South Bend, Washington was behind. They were down 12 in the second quarter, and then came back and D'd some people up. Valpo has a very good freshman, and they D'd her up, went into a no catch, and they outscored them. I think it was 36-9 in the second half, and one going away. And in the second game, Lake Central, one of our local guys, Joe Huppenthal, who coached at Clay for 15 years, is back over in the region now, has got them going. They beat Northridge, probably one of the best scouting reports I've seen. I mean, his girls knew everything Northridge was going to do. They were so well prepared that when Northridge made a cut, they were sitting there waiting on them. They bumped them. They couldn't do any. They couldn't do anything. It was I think it was 20 to it was 16-4 at the half. I think they had 4. No, it was 14-6. They had 6 points at halftime. Northridge, who is a high-scoring team. So Lake Central won. And then we found out over the weekend they two teams drew each other. We'll talk about that in a minute. Down at Marion, Fishers in that loaded sectional came out of that sectional. At Marion, they beat Homestead, a very good Homestead team, 61-31, beat them by 30. And then Fort Wayne Snyder beat Lafayette Harrison in the second game over there. So those are the teams that I will be going to see at Huntington this week. So my crew that I'm with will be doing the Huntington game, semi-state. And I think game one is Fishers and Snyder. And game 2 is South Bend, Washington and Lake Central. And then the winners will play that night. Down south, Lawrence North.
Okay. Hold on for a second. So the winners, yeah, that's right, because Washington's in 4A now.
Yes, Washington's 4A. They sure are. Yep. And that's a good point. The semi-states now are different than they have been because in the past they had like a 2A and a 4A. They had 2 separate games. That was last week. This week they're going back. They flipped. This is like the regional, or when we were playing, just how it was.
Yeah, exactly.
You played in the morning. If you won, you play at night. So you got to win 2 next week. Down south, I'll call it down south. It's Indianapolis, but Lawrence North beat Brownsburg. Ben Davis beat Mount Vernon, 53-28, and then Center Grove beat Franklin, and BNL beat Evansville Central. So next week, you've got at Huntington, as I said, Fort Wayne Snyder and Fishers, South Bend, Washington, Lake Central, and then they've moved the semi-state to Southport because Greencastle was supposed to host a semi-state, but their team made it, and they didn't want them to have a home game, which I thought was interesting because in the past, people have had home games.
Yeah, without question, they had home games.
Plymouth. So if they were, they had, and the Super Bowl was played in Tampa a couple years ago, right?
Did that matter? Heck yes, it mattered to the home team.
Sure it did.
Heck yes. So tell me, how does Washington stack up in this now?
Washington's the number 1 team in the state.
But I mean, that's with the idea that the other girl was going to play.
They still have the other girl.
So, and so how does Washington stack up with who they're going to play in the semi-state, and can they win that semi-state?
They have a chance to win that. They will be favored against Lake Central. They played Lake Central back at Thanksgiving, very early in the season. I think it was a 15 to 18-point game with their whole team. Now, the thing is, I keep saying they don't have their whole team. Off and on during the season, they've only had one Reynolds girl because the younger one was hurt for a period of time as well. Now she's back, and then her older sister got hurt. But in the south, at Southport, you got BNL, Center Grove, and then Lawrence North, Ben Davis, and then the winners will play, and then you'll be down to 2, and then you head for Indianapolis the following week, and you've got the 4A finals. John, you want to go over the 3A?
3A real quick. I was over at Jimtown the other day, and a great game by Tippecanoe Valley over Mishawaka Marion. They did a great job defensively. They boxed and won, and they had no catch on Nevaeh Foster. Wherever Nevaeh Foster was, there was at least 1 or 2 Lady Vikings, and they held her to a season-low 10 points in that game. Ended up winning 67-54 to end Marion's season. So Tippy Valley moved on. In the second game, Highland played a great game against Fairfield, but Brea Garber said, enough's enough. Okay, this is our turn again. They were looking for another regional. She turned it on, had 15 points in the second half. Fairfield advanced with a win, and They get to play each other. We're going to be at the LaPorte Semi-State. My crew on Saturday will have Twin Lakes, who's undefeated at 27-0, taking on a conference foe in Hamilton Heights. But what's interesting, in the Hoosier, they have the Eastern Division and the Western Division. Hamilton Heights finished second in the Eastern. Twin Lakes won the Western Division, but they did not play during the regular season. So they will play in game number 1. That is at 11 o'clock Eastern. 1 o'clock Eastern will be Tippecanoe Valley and Fairfield. And then, of course, 8:30, the championship game on Saturday. We'll have all 3 games at Huntington and all 3 games at LaPorte this Saturday here on BroadcastSport.net. Should be a lot of fun.
And then just real quick, down south, you've got Gibson Southern and Corydon. And then Chittard, who is the only remaining team that's under 500. Chittard's 12-13. And they play Indian Creek. And those games will all be down at the new Jasper Gymnasium, which I have not been to. I was looking here at how many of these gyms I've been to, and I've been to basically all of them, with the exception of the new Jasper Gym. I've been in the old Jasper Gym, but I haven't been to the new one.
The new Jasper Gym is amazing. I was there last summer. Big Ten basketball. Northwestern takes down the Boilermakers 64-58. Northwestern 18-7, 9-5. They've only been to the NCAA tournament one other time in their existence. So if they can keep playing and have a showing in the conference tournament, hopefully get a conference or an NCAA bid, that'll be tremendous.
Tremendous. And I think people saw the recipe about how you just go ambush Edie and make somebody else beat you. And you said that the Big Ten's a scramble right now because Northwestern's second, and I think they have to play IU this week, right?
They play. They host IU on Wednesday. They beat IU early in the season, 84-83. So that'll be a tough one. I mean, IU playing really good. Beats Michigan 62-61. Tracy or JD Jackson, what's his name?
Trace Jackson Davis.
Trace Jackson Davis, 28-11.
Yeah, he's playing well.
He's a man right now. Schifrino had 21. They played in a low-scoring game and showed that they can win that kind of a game. And so they will play at Northwestern. Purdue will visit Maryland, and Maryland has yet to lose a home game.
They have not lost, exactly.
So it's a tough stretch for Purdue. Zach Edey went for 24-8, but he had 6 turnovers passing out of the post. But at the end of the day, and we know this, it's tough to run that, and you're going to go through maybe a week to 2 weeks where teams are going to beat you. You're not going to play your best, and the big key is playing through that grind.
Yes.
And then getting your team playing at the highest level at the end.
Yeah,
right?
Don't be surprised if Purdue loses over at Maryland.
Yeah, I think that will be a pretty. I would pick Maryland now.
They have a two-game lead on everybody else right now. They have 3 losses, and I think everybody else has 5. So that's why the IU Northwestern game will be important this week because they're tied with 5 losses.
Maryland is 8-6.
They've got 6. Okay.
So if you look at the Big Ten and the number of schools that'll get in, Rutgers ain't getting in, Penn State ain't getting in, Wisconsin isn't getting in, Ohio State 3-11. Come on, man. Come on, Chris Hartman. Minnesota not getting in. You still have probably 7 or 8 schools that have the possibility of getting in. But what's going to happen in this last couple of weeks and the conference tournament will go a long way.
About who's in and who's not in.
And who's in, who's not. Our boys Penn 19-1. Are you kidding me? 10-0 in the NIC.
Yeah, our Power 5 up here really have not changed.
Northwood moves up to number 2 at 17-2. Marion slides back to number 3. And Marion's having.
They don't care.
They're having a Marion type season.
They sure are.
19-2, 8-1. They're playing at Jimtown this week, and their only reason for going to that game is because they play the sectional at Jimtown. Mm-hmm. So let's get a workout in at Jimtown, right?
Exactly.
South Bend, Washington, 14-4, got blitzed.
There's your big game this weekend.
But got blitzed by Penn by 34.
Yeah.
Marcus went for 47.
47. If he's not Mr. Basketball, that's because the Indianapolis people want to make sure the boy from Cathedral is Mr.
Well,
Basketball.
if he's not Mr. Basketball, there ought to be an investigation, right?
It's going to be the kid from Cathedral's 7 foot.
But Marcus Burton has done everything.
He's done everything he can.
Mishawaka, we saw that game get waxed. South Bend Riley 10-9, quietly playing pretty well. Alex Daniels got those guys getting after it.
And they've got a chance to win the sectional. Like you said.
I mean that sectional's open.
It's
Laporte,
wide open.
Michigan City. Hodges is a great player for Michigan City.
And he had a nice
Mishawaka,
game this week, I read.
Yeah, I think he went for 50.
He had a bunch.
Northridge coming up a little bit now, winning. I mean, they went through that terrible stretch. John Glenn, 11-8. They'll be a tough out in the sectional simply because they got Bryce Hanna, who's 6'4", 6'5".
And they go to Knox, so don't be surprised.
Exactly.
They could win a sectional.
I mean, who wants to go to Knox? John Glenn.
John Glenn wants
Glenn's
to
the
right
only people
now.
I know that want to go to Knox. South Bend
Their other choice is Jimtown.
Yeah, South Bend St. Joe 9-11, 6-3 at Bremen, and then they play versus South Bend Washington at the end here. Goshen 9-9. But Goshen, Goshen tears up the NLC. They beat Warsaw, they beat Mishawaka. So Northwood ought to be sending Goshen a Valentine's Day basket.
The only problem, they've got to go to Elkhart for a sectional, which has Penn in it.
Hey Goshen, here's a Valentine's Day basket for beating Warsaw and Mishawaka.
Exactly.
And just remember what Ron Heklinski said today. Man, you ain't that good. The scouting report said you were pretty good. You ain't that good.
That's funny.
For my best partner in the world, Pat King, myself, and our guy spinning the dials, Mr. John Overmeyer, we want to thank you for tuning in. And we want to say tune in next week. We'll have some good stuff. Next week we'll have a guest. You're the best, John. Thanks, man.
John. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to be entertained by the Black Sedan Band. And I'm yours truly, Hoss Carl on the mic. I guarantee you, if you want to dance, we don't mind you doing it. We gonna have a good time. Hey, well, I'm the friendly stranger in the Black Sedan. I want you to hop inside my car.